Welcome to the deep dive. If you're here, you're probably looking for better ways to build your English vocabulary, maybe understand things better without getting totally bogged down.
Yeah, avoiding those really dense textbooks sometimes.
Exactly. So we've actually spent some time looking through a whole bunch of resources, audio, text, you name it, on one specific method.
A method that seems, well, surprisingly effective and even enjoyable. We're talking about using short stories to learn English.
Right. And our mission today really is to dig into why this works so well for language learning.
And crucially, how you can actually start using them, like practically in your daily routine.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Short stories, I mean, first off, it almost sounds too simple.
It does a bit, yeah. But the sources we looked at consistently point to some big pluses.
The first one seems pretty obvious but important. Manageability, like how long they take.
Uh-huh. We're not talking about massive novels here. These are stories you can often get through in, what, 5, 10 minutes?
Yeah, maybe on your commute or something. It
Yeah.
makes learning feel less like this giant mountain to climb.
Exactly. More like small, achievable wins. Finishing a story gives you that little boost, keeps you motivated.
It's interesting how that small time commitment, done regularly, really adds up.
It really does. Consistency is key.
And it's not just the length. What about the type of language used? That came up a lot too.
Oh, absolutely. Short stories often use language that's much closer to everyday conversation.
Right, compared to, say, a formal grammar book.
Definitely. So you're learning the kind of English people actually use. Real life stuff, practical.
Which is invaluable if you want to actually, talk to people.
That's the goal, isn't it? It immerses you in the natural flow, how sentences connect, which is often quite different from textbook examples.
It helps you get a feel for not just what to say, but how native speakers might phrase things.
Yeah, the nuances. And another thing that kept popping up was repetition.
Ah, right, within the story itself.
Exactly. Certain words, maybe some useful phrases, they tend to reappear naturally within the narrative.
It's kind of like learning song lyrics, isn't it? You hear the chorus a few times.
That's a great analogy. You hear it in context, and it just sort of sticks, often without conscious effort.
Way better than just drilling flashcards, I'd imagine.
For long-term memory, definitely. Seeing words used in slightly different ways within a story really cements them.
Okay, so the stories themselves are useful. But then there's this technique that was highlighted everywhere, combining reading with listening.
Yes, the dual approach, using your eyes and your ears together.
What's the big advantage there? Why is that so effective?
Well, you're engaging multiple senses, right?
Yeah.
Hearing and sight, it makes the whole learning experience more
Immersive.
deeper processing in the brain, maybe.
Sort of, yeah. You're building stronger connections. You hear the word, you see how it's spelled all at once.
Ah, okay, so it helps connect the sound to the letters.
Precisely, and vice versa. You see the text and you hear the correct pronunciation, the rhythm, the intonation, which is super helpful for pronunciation, I bet. Getting that natural English rhythm down.
Absolutely. You start to internalize how words link together, the ups and downs of speech.
And you're solidifying that sound-spelling connection at the same time.
Exactly. It caters to different ways people learn, too.
And is this just for beginners? Or do advanced learners get something out of it too?
Oh, definitely not just for beginners. For intermediate learners, it can speed things up. But advanced learners, they can really start picking up on the subtleties.
Like slight changes in tone that change the meaning, that kind of thing.
Precisely that. Those nuances that make speech sound really natural. It helps refine your ear and eventually your own speaking.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So how would this look in practice? Let's take an example.
Good idea.
Imagine a simple story. Let's call it The Lost Wallet. Basic plot. Someone loses their wallet, asks around, maybe meets someone helpful.
A classic scenario.
What kind of useful language might you pick up just from that simple story?
Well, straight away, you'd probably encounter really common practical phrases. Things
Like asking someone, "Excuse me, did you happen to see?"
exactly, or did you happen to see a brown wallet around here? Very common structure.
Or the person who lost it saying, "Oh, I think I left it." Or, "I might have left it on that bench."
Yeah, I think I left it.
That's super useful everyday language, things you can actually use tomorrow.
Right. So it's not just passive listening. The sources really push for active engagement afterwards. What does that involve?
Well, a big one is reading the story aloud yourself after you've listened.
Okay. Why does that help?
It gets your mouth moving,
Mm-hmm.
engages the muscles you use for speaking. It kind of wires the words physically.
Ah, makes sense. From brain to mouth.
Yeah. And it strengthens that connection between seeing the word and saying it.
And some sources even suggested recording yourself.
Yes, taking it a step further.
Record yourself reading the story aloud.
And then compare it to the original audio. Ooh, that sounds potentially embarrassing, but useful.
Haha, maybe a little at first,
Oh.
but it gives you direct feedback. You can hear exactly where your pronunciation or rhythm differs from the native speaker.
So you can target specific sounds or patterns you need to work on.
Precisely. It's like having a personalized pronunciation coach, in a way.
Okay, so the benefits are clear. Using the stories, combining listening and reading, active practice. But making it a habit, that's always the tricky part, isn't it?
It is. Life gets busy.
So what's the advice for actually building this into a daily routine?
The key advice seems to be start small. Really small. Don't overwhelm yourself.
Like, just aim for one story a day.
Exactly. Just one. Maybe listen on your way to work or perhaps before bed. Find a slot that already exists in your routine.
Tying it to something you already do, that usually helps habits stick.
It does. And interestingly, listening before sleep, some research suggests that can actually help with subconscious absorption. Worth a try.
Huh. Okay. And do you need a new story every single day?
Not necessarily. Actually, re-listening to the same story multiple times during the week is highly recommended.
Ah, okay. So repetition again, but on a macro level.
Yes. It really helps solidify the vocabulary and lets you notice different things each time you listen.
And to make that stick even better, what about actively using the new words?
Crucial step. Keep some kind of notebook, physical or digital. Doesn't matter.
And jot down new words or phrases.
Yeah, anything that catches your ear or eye. But don't stop there. The really important part is to try and use them.
Make your own sentences.
Exactly. Try to weave them into your own speaking or writing, even if it feels a bit forced at first. That turns passive knowledge into active skill.
Right, takes it from, I recognize that word, to, I can use that word.
That's the jump you want to make.
Okay, this all sounds great. People are probably thinking, where do I find these magical short stories?
Good question. Luckily, there are tons of resources out there now.
Like what?
Well, YouTube has loads of channels specifically for English learners, with stories read slowly and clearly. Podcasts, too, designed for learners.
Okay, YouTube, podcasts, any websites. Yeah, sites like ESL Fast or Storyberries, they often categorize stories by difficulty level, which is super helpful.
That's good, so you can find something that matches your current level.
Exactly. And don't forget audiobooks designed for language learners. They often come with transcripts, too.
So lots of places to look.
Yeah.
And one source mentioned something interesting, actually writing your own stories.
Yes. That's a fantastic way to practice. A bit more advanced, maybe, but incredibly valuable.
How so?
Because you're actively constructing sentences using the vocabulary you've learned in context. It forces you to think in English and apply the grammar rules.
It really cements the learning, I guess.
Yeah.
Makes it your own.
Definitely. A very powerful technique.
So it really does seem like incorporating short stories is a fun and pretty manageable way to boost your English.
It really is. It makes learning feel less like a chore and more like, just enjoying a story. Natural.
Okay, so if we were to wrap up this deep dive, what's the main takeaway?
I think it's that making short stories a regular habit, finding just 10 minutes a day, is an accessible, enjoyable, and genuinely effective way to improve your English.
It boils down to that simple formula, really.
Yeah. Listen carefully, read along, repeat things, and then try to speak. Try to use it.
Make it a habit.
Make it a habit, and you will see progress. It's almost guaranteed.
All right. And maybe a final thought for everyone listening to chew on.
Go for it.
How might actually taking that next step, regularly trying to write your own simple short stories, using the language you're learning, how might that accelerate your journey even further and deepen your real understanding of English?